of Mozart and Lorenzo Da Ponte, who was the librettist. So this is, of course, the result of two genius minds which met. Just two words to introduce these two wonderful masterpieces. Well, Nozze di Figaro is the first of the trilogy of Mozart. The trilogy means the three really fantastic opera buffas, yes? Nozze di Figaro, Don Giovanni, and Così fan tutte. These three opere buffe were also composed and written in collaboration with the same librettist, Lorenzo Da Ponte. Well, Mozart was 29 years old when he composed and performed also Nozze di Figaro. The first time it was performed, it was in 1786 at the Burgtheater in Vienna. Yes, and well, it was a big success, so big that actually the Emperor Joseph II had to forbid the encores because it was such a success that at the end of the show it would never end. People would go on and go on and go on asking encores, encores, encores. So he had forbid this because it was really never ending. You have to know that at the time what was really in charge was the opera seria, not the opera buffa, but the opera seria was really a bit static. It was a sort of concertant recital where the singers were staying on stage and while singing, showing like a circus their vocal skills, but it was quite boring. The opera buffa was really a revelation for that time. People loved it immensely. You have to understand that Mozart was a real fan of the comedies of Molière, of Goldoni. Goldoni was a Venetian comedian, and even of Shakespeare. He loved that. And he really wanted to offer something where people could enjoy more and identify themselves. What happened actually? You have also to understand that it was the time just few years before the French Revolution. So a really critic period, historic period, where there were a lot of critics. And this is actually what happened in Nozze di Figaro. It's very evident, the critic, and it is so evident that actually you have to know that the king of France, the one who lost his head under the guillotine, so Louis XVI said this comedy, this opera of Nozze di Figaro will never be performed here. Either first the how do you say, the Bastille, the famous terrible prison of Paris, will be destroyed, or it will be never performed here. And actually this was a sort of prophecy, because the Bastille, of course, was destroyed during the during the French Revolution. Well, and it is Nozze di Figaro, inspired from a comedy of Beaumarchais, La Foule Journée, which means the crazy day. Actually, it's a bit crazy, the story, or Le Mariage de Figaro. And later it was also performed in Prague a few months later, so in May first at Vienna, at the Burgtheater in Vienna, and in December in Prague. And it was such an incredible success that it was immediately asked to Mozart to compose a second opera. And the second opera will be Don Giovanni. At the time, Mozart was actually very recognized and appreciated, and everyone, it seems, that on the streets sang actually his music. This is the good news for him, even though, well, he had quite a difficult life, Mozart, because he was actually the first freelance musician of his time. He had actually a fixed position in Salzburg, which he actually left because he was not able to work under a boss. So he left the fixed position and risked his life to be free. So he went then to Vienna and worked as a freelance musician. He was the first one, and he opened this profession to us. But of course, that was tough at that time, and that's why also he ended his life in misery. Well, and what can we say about Don Giovanni? Well, Don Giovanni is also inspired from a comedy of Molière, and it was first performed in Prague in 1787 first, and later the other way around in Vienna. And there are many variations. So the two versions are quite different. It seems that in Prague, some arias which are very famous were missing. For example, the famous aria of Don Ottavio, Dalla sua pace, Dalla sua pace la mia dipende, was missing. And also the aria of Donna Elvira, Mi tradii quell'alma ingrata, was missing. Mi tradii quell'alma ingrata, was missing, strangely enough. And in Vienna, what was missing? I mean, Mozart did a big cut of the last scene, of the whole scene number 20. Questo è il fin di chi fa mal. Questo è il fin di chi fa mal, di chi fa mal. It was missing with the whole scene of Don Giovanni and the Commendatore. Strangely enough. Well, it's interesting to know this. And then finally, Don Giovanni was performed also in Italy in 1811 in Rome at the Teatro della Valle. Well, Mozart was 29 when he composed first Nozze di Figaro, and 30 the year later, Don Giovanni. And what else can we say about these masterpieces? Well, that it would have not been possible without the genius mind of Lorenzo da Ponte, right? The librettist. But the librettist Lorenzo da Ponte, well, was a very special person. First of all, that was not his real name. Did you know that? So Lorenzo da Ponte, real name, was Emanuele Conegliano. Why? Well, Conegliano is a city in Italy, in North Italy, near Venice, yes? You have to know that here, but I think in whole Europe actually, the tradition was that Jewish people would have the name of their city of origin. So the family of Lorenzo da Ponte came from Conegliano actually. They were actually of Jewish religion. But the father, who remained widowed rather early, fell in love with a young, 20 years younger lady who was actually Christian. So the father of Lorenzo da Ponte, or better said, of Emanuele Conegliano, in order to be able to marry this lady, converted to Christianity. Yes. So this young boy was raised as a Christian because the whole family, converted to the Christian religion. And he grew up in a seminary and he became even priest. But a priest of a special kind because he had a lover and 2 kids. And because of that, he had a lot of problems with the justice and had to fly to Vienna. And it is this the story, how he landed there. And at the end, he met Mozart there. And he landed to Vienna thanks also to the intervention of Salieri, who invited him there to work at the court of Joseph II. So this is the story, a strange story. And then from there, he had again problems and he went to London, where he was also an impresario. but things went not so good. He had bankrupt, and therefore he actually flew from Europe and landed in New York. So this is the story of Lorenzo da Ponte, who landed in New York and who brought actually Mozart there. He is the one who actually performed the Don Giovanni for the first time in New York in 1825. Yes. He also brought, by the way, also Rossini there. He's the first one who organized the first performance of Gazzaladra of Rossini there, because actually he founded an Italian opera house even. But well, it lasted not very long, this opera house, also because it was then destroyed very soon by a fire. And also Lorenzo da Ponte was the first Italian professor of Italian literature in America at the Columbia University, and he died there, and he was his body was first brought in a cemetery in Little Italy, but then brought again to the Calvary Cemetery in Queens, but we don't know exactly the place. So actually we don't have a real grave of Lorenzo da Ponte, in the same way we do not have a real grave of Mozart. We know that Mozart is somewhere at the Marx cemetery in Vienna, where I have been, a wonderful place. You should go there because it's a very old cemetery of that time, and the gravestones are very interesting, with the explanation of the life of the persons who are lying there. Here lies the hairdresser, here lies the baker of the imperial family. Very interesting. But we actually, like Lorenzo da Ponte, we don't have a real specific grave of Mozart. But well, we have, of course, their music, and we have, of course, these wonderful masterpieces. This trilogy, Nozze di Figaro, Don Giovanni, Così fan tutte, and so they are also always with us and unforgotten and unforgettable. So that was a bit 2 words to introduce you to these wonderful masterpieces, and to remind you again that I recorded all the recitatives of Nozze di Figaro and all the recitatives of Don Giovanni, which you can find on my webpage. They are available for you if you need some help, some guidance for the articulation, for the diction, and to study these fantastic operas. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed these 2 words, and I say for now bye-bye to everyone. I wish you a blessing weekend, a lot of health in this period, and viva Mozart, and keep your joy of singing, and we see us very soon, certainly, for some other announcements or events or master classes. Ciao ciao, arrivederci to everyone from Italy, from Capucine. Bye!